Well, welcome everyone. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat with your name, your organization, and your email if you would like. And we are going to get started. Today is Friday, September 27th. I'm going to share my screen. So today we are, this is the Just Transition Employment and Retraining Working Group under the Maryland Commission on Climate Change. And today we're going to be just hearing some general updates and clean transportation highlights. My name is Cindy Osordo, and I am the chair of this working group, and I'm in the climate change program at MDE. Let us begin with doing a roll call. Jared, could you please help us out?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. So we're going to start roll call now. So first, Senator Don Gile, Senator John Moutz, Delegate Regina Boyce, Delegate David Fraser Hidalgo.
Here.
Thank you. Cindy Osorto.
Here.
Chanel Viator. Allison Breithenauthor. Richard Strong.
MDOT was just called. Sean, do we have you on the line? Jared, please make note of Sean being the replacement for Allison today.
Okay. Richard Strong. Okay, we already said Jason Asher. Rico Albuquerque. Donna S. Edwards. Gerald Jackson. Jerry R. Williford Jr. Sean Stracer.
Here.
Thank you. Casey Ross. Stephanie Johnson.
Casey? We saw Casey on the line.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was muted. I'm here.
Thank you, Casey. Stephanie Johnson. Okay. Maura Cyphers. Aaron Apple. Brad Phillips. Lynn Nash. Kimberly Haven. Jennifer Walsh. Suzanne K. Mikoski.
Here.
Thank you. Kobe Little. Tiffany Fisher. John Hines. Tanya Terrell. And that concludes roll call.
Senator Moutz also joined us.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Khalid Malik is also here. Also noted that Khalid is here. So we are going to get started. So the agenda for today is that we are just going to be doing some general updates on where we are within the General Climate Commission process. Then we're going to be hearing just some really exciting updates from MEA, as well as our main speaker today, which is Sean Kiernan from the Maryland Department of Transportation. MDOT has been involved in climate change planning for many, many years, and Sean is an excellent leader in climate. And then we'll jump into discussion and public comment. So last meeting, we had a lot of, was an important meeting because we had discussed recommendations. We had already discussed some of our priorities regarding challenges and opportunities and principles. But last meeting, we finalized the Just Transition Principles language. Here they are: quality green jobs, occupational training and education, sustainable job and project investments, eliminate employment barriers, retain underrepresented workers, stakeholder and worker collaboration, and support existing fossil fuel workforce. Then we talked about supporting labor best practices using the WARMTH Act as a potential model to ultimately provide job security and support new decarbonization infrastructure projects of varying sizes. Then we talked about supporting a green jobs outreach campaign in 2025 to encourage more applications and participation in clean apprenticeships and relevant technologies. And then lastly, we talked about expanding our current workforce model programs, such as the Employment Advancement Right Now Maryland program, the Registered Apprenticeship program, and the Maryland Works for Wind program, to address existing and emerging workforce needs in solar, wind, geothermal, electrification, and other clean energy sectors. You might recall that during our first meeting, we highlighted a few laws that had just been supported in the General Assembly, and it relates to energy efficiency, network geothermal, and so we have been kind of touching on some of the themes and some of the laws we had discussed during our first meeting. But here, where we are today is we passed our 4 recommendations after a lot of collaboration and a lot of feedback from our members. And we have submitted our recommendations to the General Climate Change Commission. They will be voting and considering and potentially amending any of the language that gets presented to them. And they will be doing this over the course of 2 meetings, September 30th and October 15th. There are 7 other working groups. One of them is the mitigation working group. It's actually meeting right after this one. They have a lot of ideas for funding, for priorities, for a wide range. So if you care about climate change issues, I would encourage you to check out our website and see what is going on at the Climate Change Commission. We do have a YouTube page for all of the working groups that you can also check out. Next, I wanted to highlight some of the amazing work that our governor has been doing. Just in this month alone, we have so many updates that I feel very proud to learn about and to share with you guys. On September 9th, the governor announced that $10 million is going to the Maryland Technology Development Corporation through the state Small Business Credit Initiative, investing in America's Small Business Opportunity Program, ultimately to support small businesses, and that can include clean energy businesses. On September 4th, the governor held a labor relations roundtable where he engaged various unions and talked with union members, as well as leadership and how new jobs can be created, as well as ensuring fair pay and advancing solutions. And we also heard that on September 11th, the next Maryland Core and Service Year Option Cohort was launched in partnership with the Chesapeake Bay Trust. We actually at MTE received one intern from this service year core, and his name is Paul, and he's actually pictured here in this photo. And we're really happy to have him at MDE. And then on September 12th, we had $16 million that is going to be going into bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. This includes the Transportation Alternatives Program, the Recreation Trails Program, and the Kim Lanphier Bikeways Network Program. And this is going throughout various Maryland jurisdictions. And then lastly, there was an award. There was a change to the Veteran-Owned Small Business Enterprise Program to increase 1% to 3% the amount of support that goes into that program to ultimately provide more support for veterans that go into entrepreneurship. And this is done through the Small Minority and Women Business Affairs Office. All of these links are clickable, and our presentation will be posted online. So you can always check out more information or reach out to us if you have any questions. So next up, we are going to be hearing from MEA and MDOT. We are lucky to be joined first by Diego Lopez, who is the Clean Transportation Lead at MEA. We work in the same building, and I'm really excited to have him join us. Diego?
Excellent. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And if there's any technical issues, let me know. But I'll try and share my screen here. Let's see here. And off we go, I think. Let's see here. Able to see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect.
We have to present.
Oh, sorry.
It's like it shows the.
Does it show the MEA kind of mission thing here?
We can see, but it's not in full screen.
Gotcha. Yeah, no worries. I'll try and increase the screen here, the screen size, but that's okay as long as you can see the bare basics. And this is really just more of a touch point. I'll be sending a lot of information after this this call, this webinar. So no need to memorize anything. And I put down, again, for those who maybe don't know, again, MEA is definitely focused on clean energy infrastructure, clean energy programs. I'll be running through maybe 3 of the top equity programs that we have already input into the community. It's already had some tremendous successes, but I'll also go into a very new program that I would love some feedback. I'd love some help from this group, and we'll go through that at the very, very end here. But the first program is going to be the Solar Energy Equity Grant Program. This is, again, for low to moderate income, overburdened and underserved communities. And this is really to take care of 100% of the solar system design and installation. It's only up to $25,000 per home. So there are some significant amount of homes, houses that can take advantage of this program, and this has already been going on. So again, if you're wanting more information, I'll connect you with that program manager. I'm really more into the clean transportation, but wanting to highlight that we're focused on equity from a holistic perspective. In addition to solar, we also have our energy efficiency equity grant program. So again, for those same types of residents, they're not wanting to move to solar. It's usually energy efficiency first. We want to reduce that demand as much as possible. And there's around 19 million budgeted in that program. It's allocated for a plethora of different energy efficiency types of solutions, from insulation, water heaters. Again, I'll connect this group with that program manager. But this program has been going on for quite some time, and definitely has seen some successes. And going, into our next program, something to maybe note for all three of these programs is that they're all oversubscribed. We have a tremendous amount of requests from these programs. But one thing that we constantly try and get to, and this will be for the last kind of topic, is, are we getting to the right people? So as I'm sending out information about these programs, if you have some folks that are underserved that don't feel like they have questions on these programs, do let us know. We're wanting to connect with those that feel underserved. The last kind of program that's historical, it's been out, but again, this also focuses on maybe equity based off of a geographic region, just because this is more for local governments, nonprofits, schools, and communities to adopt energy usage or GHG emission kind of solutions. And there's 4 different AOIs. Some are for street lighting, some are for just energy efficiency. This 4th AOI is for clean energy adoption. So it could be for anything from energy efficiency programs that a community, like a school, wants to adopt, or let's say a nonprofit like a food bank wants to adopt some vehicles to transport food. This is a great opportunity. So this is a really great catch-all for communities that have some really great smart ideas. Lastly, I wanted to cover, again, those are programs that are historical. They've been around for 3 to 4 years now. They had a lot of successes. We definitely need still some help promoting those programs, but this upcoming program is something that we are currently designing. It's our electric vehicle supply equipment equity rebate program. So we're trying to put charging stations into underserved, low to moderate income communities. We have a notice of intent and a request for information. Some of the high level things, we are looking at funding EV infrastructure planning, EV capable and EV ready installations, and also the full installation. We got a lot of feedback from folks that they wanted the entire process to be funded. And so that's what we're looking towards. We have around 9 to 11 million for this first round. We will have a second round afterwards that will implement some best practices. This is the request for information that will help influence our design still. Some of the questions deal with what should the incentives look like, where should the incentives go, and so this is where, again, this kind of team comes into play. We would love some feedback, or if you know some nonprofits, stakeholders in the region that would like some feedback, give us some feedback. One thing to highlight as a note, just last thing, we are considering funding some electric bike infrastructure. So I know, Cindy, you mentioned the Transportation Alternative Program. So I know that that's already a program which could probably cross-pollinate and can have some synergy with those programs and projects. So if there are other programs that are like that program, where we can give some EVSE or some e-bike infrastructure as well, some electric bike infrastructure, do let us know. But I'll go ahead and stop here. And any questions about the past programs or about this upcoming program?
This is so exciting. Do any members have any questions? Delegate Boyce?
Thank you so much. Diego, you mentioned that charging stations will be put in, I guess, underserved communities. And I just want to be clear, do you take account of whether or not there are actually electric charging vehicles in the area as well?
It's a good question. We will want to balance out the combination of need and present EV kind of demand. If there's already some EVs there, if it's between two projects and we have one with a bunch of EVs in the area, they're underserved, and the other one is just underserved, most likely one will be more competitive than the other. But
I'm sorry.
I will.
When you use the word underserved, we're not talking about an underserved and overburdened community. We're talking about an underserved in that there are people who have made the investment in an EV and therefore don't have enough of the infrastructure around.
Right. So that's what we're planning on funding.
We might want to
As
change
much as
the
we
wording though when we talk
Well,
about underserved.
Yeah, this is exactly what feedback we're wanting. So what we're going to use the MDE tool to kind of help us with kind of deciphering where are these locations. Is it low to moderate income? Is it English as a second language? What are the different types of metrics? So, I mean, this is exactly what we have the RFI kind of open for. One of those questions are, what really is underserved? What is equity? What does that mean to different communities? So it's still open for design, and this is exactly the kind of feedback we're wanting.
Thank you. And we'll send that link and that request for information so that you have it in front of you and you can kind of sit down and see what feedback you might be able to provide as a member. Thank you so much, Diego. We'll take just one or two more questions and then we'll jump into our MDOT presentation. Ryan?
Hey, Diego, have you guys, so you mentioned these programs are oversubscribed, particularly the solar program. Have you guys done any studies to see what the actual demand is out there? So, what amount of that demand are you meeting? And I'm just curious, how much demand is out there and how much money it would take to meet that demand.
We have sent out, and we're working with MES and AECOM on exactly that for both programs, for the solar, for the transportation program, to really get those numbers. Where is the demand? How much would it be if there aren't any EVs in the area? Is it purely because there's not demand, or is it really just because there's not EV infrastructure in that area? So those are definitely the things that we'll be looking into, and AECOM will have another study coming out very soon.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of solar, I'm wondering if if it takes another $50 or $100 million to kind of get there, where you could get that, if you could work with utilities to try to offset that so they can avoid building transmission, for example. But just trying to get things moving a bit faster, because it seems like these programs are definitely oversubscribed. But yeah, we can talk about this offline. I don't want to hold up the rest of the group.
No, it's a good point to work with utilities, but yeah, no, good. This is again time to give feedback. So Regina, thank you so much. Ryan, thank you so much, and anybody else for feedback.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Diego. And a quick note to the working group, there is another working group called the Energy Industry Revitalization Working Group. Ryan is a member of that working group and has been thinking a lot about how to support small businesses. And just wanted to quickly share that that group has submitted a recommendation to the commission on supporting building out more capacity for EV infrastructure, similar to what Diego is talking about here. So there is that discussion going on right now. Where do we support more? How do we reach the people that we want to support? So next up, and you can always check out the respective working group if you want to learn more. The website has all the information. Next up, we have Sean from MDOT.
Hi, everyone. Okay, let me figure out how to share my screen. I don't usually use Google, so this is always one of those technological challenges for us. So let me see if I can make sure this works. Let me know if that is coming through. Is that right?
Yes, you could make it full screen if you would like. We can see your notes.
Oh, okay. All right, so let me just try something. Sorry, it's let's do this. How's that?
You just need to click the present in the lower right corner. A little button. Yep, there you go.
Is that showing up?
At least that should work in theory.
Yep. Let me just try something here real quick. Like I said, sorry, we are a Teams organization over on our side, so we're always trying to learn how to use these other pieces.
It's okay.
Let's try that. Is that any better? No? Yeah, give me 1 second. Sorry. There you go. From the beginning, let's turn Windows. See if that's any better. Any better? Anything?
We can still see your notes. We can proceed like this. Maybe give from, maybe give from the beginning a try. Like click.
Try one more thing. One more thing. Let's try one other thing. If I do it this way, is this going to be any better? Apologies, everybody. How's that?
We got it.
All right. Okay. Just took a little while. All right, everyone. Well, Cindy, first of all, thanks very much for having me. I'm Sean Kiernan. I am the Senior Manager for Strategic Climate Initiatives with MDOT's Office of Climate Change, Resilience, and Adaptation. I'm in the Secretary's office. And I am pinch hitting today for Allison Gost Brightonother, who is the MDOT representative to the Just Transition Working Group. She's we have a lot of there's a lot of stuff going on right now in the greenhouse gas mitigation and the climate resiliency world. So there's a whole slew of us that are over on another assignment as well. And Cindy, you already mentioned the mitigation work group. I do have to leave here to go meet with them immediately after this. So let me walk through a couple of things. If there's anything that gets into really technical questions about, especially the workforce development side, I will have to kind of defer those and bring in Allison. But I'm very interested in sharing with you some of the work that we've been doing in the there we go. In the climate action world, especially in the work over the past couple of years to address a lot of the greenhouse gas emission reduction opportunities from the transportation sector. So I'll start off just a little bit of an overview on the work that we've been doing in the climate change priority world, and then talk a little bit about the Clean Corridor Coalition, the C3, and then give you a little bit of information about MDOT's workforce-specific program. So let me start back here. Maryland's Department of Transportation is actually kind of a unique setup. If you look at a lot of the departments of transportation across the country, many of them focus on maybe one or two of the modes of transportation. So for example, a lot of them are specifically geared towards highways or highways and bridges and tunnels and things like that. Well, here in Maryland, the way that we're set up, we actually have 6 modal administrations. And so it's everything from the Maryland Port Administration working with the Port of Baltimore, through to BWI and Martin Airport, through the Maryland Aviation Administration. We have the Maryland Transportation Authority, who does the tolls, the roads, the toll roads, the bridges, the tunnels. We have Motor Vehicle Administration, so everybody, when they get their licenses or their registration. So we have a lot of different modes that all come together under the Secretary of Transportation. So it's a very interesting setup, and it gives us a lot of opportunity for an office like ours to work across the modes on multimodal implementation of carbon reduction and resiliency projects. So my job in our Office of Climate Change, Resilience, and Adaptation is to really provide that technical resource, put the right people talking to each other across the modes, and pull together the larger agency-wide strategies that are going to get us to the goals that have been set for climate change mitigation and resilience. Now, MDOT has been in the world of greenhouse gas emission reduction planning and implementation for a long time. As you can see, over the course of roughly the past 15 years, there have been a number of plans that have been developed in response to either updated laws or updated information about technology, about the ways to implement and strategies to implement greenhouse gas reduction. And the two I'd like to point out right here are work that we did over the past year. The top right-hand corner is the carbon reduction strategy. Now, this was a document that was required by the Federal Highway Administration in order for us to be able to use what are known as carbon reduction program funds. There's roughly $94 million that comes to the state between federal fiscal 2022 and federal fiscal 2026. And those can be used for a wide variety of carbon reducing projects for the transportation sector. But this document was one of the places that we pulled together all of the different carbon reduction strategies that we have in one place. And that helped us to also inform the bottom right, because you all are aware of the climate pollution reduction plan that MDE put together this past year in response to the Climate Solutions Now Act and the very ambitious goals of the 60% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2031 and net zero by 2045. And as MDE was putting together the economy-wide, the statewide plan, we were partnering with them to put together the transportation side of that. So what MDE's plan does is it takes a top-down approach for the economy-wide reductions across all of the different sectors, transportation, industry, everything. And what we did was we supplemented that with the bottom-up approach of different transportation sector-specific strategies that can help us all achieve those goals. And what it ultimately does is it gives us a blueprint for how we can move forward with trying to meet those reduction goals. And there is good news on all of this too, because we have seen a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions over the course of the years of this work and planning. And so there's a lot of good stuff that's already happening, but there is definitely more to do. So in our strategies, we have them sort of in buckets, and I'm going to go through these in a little bit more detail in a second, but this is sort of the major categories. And VMT reduction, vehicle miles traveled, basically getting people out of single occupancy vehicle trips and reducing that to help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Transportation technology, Congestion mitigation, making our roads essentially be more efficient and have less congestion, be safer, have less accidents. And then sustainable design and materials. So when we look at VMT reduction, this is a very big one. What we're trying to do is we're trying to avoid those trips that don't have to happen, those solo occupancy trips. And there's a number of different ways that we do that. And in a lot of ways, you have to be kind of creative with this. So it could also be encouraging things like teleworking, but also things like pricing strategies for parking, things like transportation demand management, helping to connect people to the next step, which is consolidating those trips. If you have to take the trip, how do we get it so that it is multiple passengers going to the same place using one mode of transportation? So carpooling, van pooling, consolidating freight trips, things like that. And then the other piece is shifting. It's mode shift. And so what that is it's getting people to be able to use the highly efficient mass transit systems that we have, buses, rails, intercity transit, but also things like we were just talking about, e-mobility, active transportation, getting people so that they're are walking, are able to use those e-bikes and things like that. So, and there's a lot of new there's not a lot of new work and a lot of new opportunities in exactly that world. So the other piece is in terms of transportation technology, and the state has a really strong program for this. It's a three-pronged approach, which is really ensuring that the infrastructure is available and deployed equitably and is in the right places for electric vehicles going forward, using things like the implementation of the Advanced Clean Cars 2 Act to help us get to more EVs on the road, and also then ensuring that there's the incentives for EVs to make these affordable and attainable for everybody, so that we can have an equitable and sustainable transportation system, especially on the transportation technology side. Now, some of these other strategies, there's about 20% of the strategies are also associated with things like congestion mitigation, increasing system efficiency, basically using the assets and the infrastructure that we have already in place today, using it in a safer, more reliable, more efficient way, helps to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And one of the best examples of this is if you've ever seen where there's a slowdown on the road, or there's a vehicle that's pulled over to the side, oftentimes you're going to see very quickly the CHART team out there. There are SHA staff that come out and help to ensure that if there is an accident or if there's a disabled vehicle, that it can be safely and carefully and efficiently removed, so that we can get the congestion relief, and then we can get that system back in action, moving as efficiently and optimally as possible. Another example of these are things like transit-oriented development, which is creating the opportunity through land use and development to put people basically right next to those options for that mode shift, keeping them out of having to have a vehicle because they're located somewhere close to an existing mass transit system. TISMO is a good example. This is where we start to integrate technology into helping to have things like street lights, traffic lights have an optimal signalization pattern so that vehicles can move through intersections as efficiently as possible, and you don't have as much delay and therefore congestion and greenhouse gas emissions. And then some of the new technologies that are coming up that are sort of the next generation. Things like connected and automated vehicles, where the vehicles actually talk to each other to help make sure that we are having, again, the most efficient use of our existing infrastructure. So all of these things coming together are the strategies that we use to direct our projects, and then ultimately to get us to a lower greenhouse gas emission going forward. Now, I would be remiss if I did not talk about the flip side of that. So what we were just talking about is a lot of the mitigating, reducing the emissions, but we also have to be prepared for the resiliency and the adaptation to a changing climate. MDOT has had a really strong program in this for a number of years, because we have assets that are in all different places across the state, that are all therefore in all different kinds of conditions. They're in places where there may be flood hazards, there may be extreme heat. So what we're always looking for are the best tools, the best ways to measure, and then the best ways to strengthen and support our existing infrastructure and our future infrastructure as well. One of the things that came out this past year is this document, which is the Transportation Resilience Improvement Plan, or the TRIP. This was approved by the Federal Highway Administration just, I guess, was August, so just a couple of months ago. And this again helps us to better direct our strategic investments in future infrastructure, and then also to identify those places where we know that we're going to need to be more resilient either today in the short term or in the next coming years. So this really helps us to I think the other really important thing that this does is it helps us to align a lot of the decisions across the modes so that we are sharing information and that we're making ultimately what is the best decisions for future and long-term resiliency. The other piece that we have here to highlight is the Resiliency Task Force, which Allison, by the way, is the lead on both of these programs. And her task force brings together representatives of each of the modal administrations to share information, to have a peer exchange, to discuss challenges, to discuss opportunities, and again, that alignment to kind of network and create the opportunity for some co-benefits when we talk about resiliency at each of the modes. So a really effective group, and a lot of conversation that's coming out of that is turning into actionable work. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Clean Corridor, the coalition, the C3, and this is very new and very exciting. For those of you that may not know much about them, this is a coalition that's made up of multiple states. It's got New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, and Maryland. New Jersey is the lead agency, so they're putting together a lot of the overarching work. But what this is designed to do is to accelerate EV infrastructure along the I-95 corridor for medium and heavy duty vehicle charging. A very exciting new facet, and really a new avenue for electric vehicles. And if you think about it, I-95 corridor is a huge freight corridor. There are a lot of ports. There's a lot of cities. Everything that we import or export at some point is going to be on a truck. And so creating these opportunities to expand that heavy duty, medium heavy duty freight network that is electrified, that is not having that is essentially a zero emission corridor, that's a really important thing, and it's a really great opportunity here. So it is just started. It's right in the infancy right now, and so we won't see deployment of a lot of this until a couple of years from now. But this is really the ground floor. Mr. Fraser, I see you have a question.
Yeah, hi. Just very quickly, can you talk a little bit about what kind of chargers you're putting in that corridor?
I'm not sure that has been decided yet. Since this is designed for medium and heavy duty, I think that there's a lot still to learn in that. So I can't, at this moment, I don't know what has been decided, if anything, but I think that that's kind of where they're all moving towards right now, is figuring out what are the next steps to actually make this operational.
Okay, I'd be curious to know if, you're putting level 3 chargers and at what speed those are going, because the trucks there are very large battery packs, and I want to make sure they're not sitting there for 2 hours if there's a way to find out what's being considered from a hardware technological perspective, I'd be curious.
Sure.
Thank you.
We can definitely get back to you on that.
Thank you very much.
David Fraser. Make a quick note here. Type of charger is proposed. All right. So one of the things that is specifically relevant to us, especially this group here, is that this proposal contained a workforce development component that has training and support for the workers that would be part of this team. Again, the timeline is a little bit in the future. It's 26 to 29 probably. But as part of this proposal throughout the coalition, so all those states, about 400 new workers are expected to be trained in construction and maintenance of these medium and heavy duty infrastructure projects. So the other nice thing, that I think a very important equitable component of this, is that there's a focus on the low income and disadvantaged communities, and there are wraparound services that are being proposed here that would include transportation, childcare, housing, food technology, and stipends to help support those workers in the training. My understanding is that the coalition is going to be building on existing workforce development programs. And so those include some of these that you see here, the Minority Business Enterprise, the Maryland Equitable Charging Infrastructure Partnership. And there's also been collaboration and early conversations about working with some of the nonprofits in Baltimore to help train young people in EV and EV infrastructure jobs. And I think my last slide, there it is. Okay. So just a little bit about MDOT and in terms of workforce development. MDOT is the official certification agency for the Minority Business Enterprise, the MBE program in Maryland. And I have links here. You can get some more information when we send you over the slides. The Maryland Equitable Charging Infrastructure Partnership that we were just talking about, that's led by the Maryland Clean Energy Center. And again, this is designed to provide that training and financing to underrepresented groups, leading to 600 EV infrastructure training programs, certified electricians. So the program will create certified electricians through the IBEW programs. The MDOT and the MDL partnership, we are committed to continuing the partnership with MDL to implement existing and deploy novel approaches to workforce development. One of the other interesting things that is being worked on right now is working with vet fleets to see if we can target veterans in some of these training areas as well. So for more information, Allison is definitely the person to reach out to, but Mr. Fraser, we'll get back to you with some answers on those questions. Is there anything I can answer right now? All right. Well, I appreciate your time. And like I said, I'm actually going to transition over and join the mitigation work group call that's going to be starting in a couple minutes. So we'll get you the slide, Cindy. And then if there is anybody who has any questions, again, feel free to reach out to Allison and she can point you in the right direction or provide you more information.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Sean.
Thanks for your time today.
Amazing.